Evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar tonight. It is called Choosing the Right College, What Athletes and Families Need to Know. And we are excited to be able to have this webinar to educate and empower athletes, families, and really want to help, especially with the way college recruiting has changed over the last few years. My name is Greg Glynn. I'm the founder and CEO of Pliable Marketing, and I'll be joined tonight by Shellee Howard. Shellee, welcome in. This is great to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to sharing exactly what parents need to know as they put together their entire application strategy to get accepted to college.
Yeah, and save some money doing it. So we're going to have a good time here tonight, for sure. This is going to go about a half hour. We want to be able to get you the information you're looking for, and we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, or you can also follow up with us afterwards as well. We'll give you our contact information so you have it. So what we wanted to do tonight was talk about our agenda. We're going to do first some introductions, and then we'll also hear an overview from Shellee about the college application process these days. I'll also then talk a little bit about athlete branding, what that is, and how it relates to NIL opportunities, which you probably have heard about. And then we'll also dive into those key topics and questions that we outlined that we were going to help with here in this webinar tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Shellee for her introduction because she has a very deep background in the college application process.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Shellee Howard, and I'm the founder and CEO of College Ready. We've been helping families navigate the college admissions and financial process for 18 years. So we've helped well over 2,500 students and over 18 years helped them to receive over $80 million in scholarships. So it's important that you know the rules of the game, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you tonight. Feel free to put any questions in the chat and we'll be sure to get to them at the end.
Perfect. And of course, as I mentioned, I'm Greg Glynn, founder and CEO of Pliable Marketing. Pliable is a full service marketing company and NIL agency. And that means that I deal a lot with name, image, and likeness opportunities, which of course started in 2021 for high school and collegiate athletes. And what we talk about when we talk about athlete branding is the process of building a personal brand, but just for an athlete. So it's far different than a average person because the athlete already has some skills and some exposure and certainly some value that they can bring to a team, to a school. And those are the reasons why that it's so important to build your brand the right way. And it does, by the way, for parents out there, include social media, which is a hot topic, which we'll talk about a little bit later here in our webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about some key topics that we outlined as part of this webinar. And then, like I said, we'll be also taking your questions. So the first topic here tonight is going to be, do grades really matter for a D1, D2, or D3 athlete? Shellee?
Oh, I love this question. If you think they don't, then I would be more concerned. But let's breaking them down. Do they really matter? 110%. There's nothing that says otherwise. So I want you to think about it this way. What matters is NCAA eligibility. You must meet academic standards just to practice and compete. College admissions, that's my specialty. Coaches, they can't admit you if the college won't. Scholarships, if you're looking for strong scholarships, big scholarships, the more abilities you have, the more money you will receive. Let's talk about playing time and pressure. Good students stay eligible and stress less. Think about the students who you know that are struggling academically just to keep up. That is going to show both on and off the court or the field. And then of course, life after sports. Not everybody will go on to be a professional. So I always tell my families, talent opens doors, grades keeps you in the room.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the other thing too, I'll add to that is that coaches and teams have to maintain a grade point average for their team, and so it's really important that they can bring somebody onto their team who can actually improve their GPA overall as a team. And I think that's something that not a lot of people think about in the recruiting process is that I could be added to a team and my grades will actually help the team to stay eligible and be at that certain plateau that they need to do. So, all
So
right. So, yeah, go ahead, Shellee.
I was just going to add one more thing that's really
Yeah.
important is, as you mentioned, grades are important in high school and in college and in the recruiting process. But what most families do not think about is, what is the end game? In other words, is it to play in college and then they're done? Is it to play professionally? What is that? Because every time you have to make a choice between a tutor or a pitching coach, you want to have a good reason why you go one direction or the other. Unless there's unlimited time and unlimited resources, you want to be strategic about the amount of time and money that you put towards each thing. So I just thought that would be an important tie-in.
Yeah, finding that right balance definitely makes a lot of sense. Um, Speaking of money, will NIL money impact your student's college scholarship package? And working in the NIL space, I can tell you right now, NIL money is coming into colleges and to student athletes in many different directions now. At first, name, image, and likeness opportunities, which is obviously the abbreviation there, NIL were really designed when this started back in 2021 from a court case from a former basketball player who was suing the NCAA because his name and his likeness essentially had been used in a video game. And although they didn't identify him directly by name, it was very obvious that that was him. He was wearing the same number. And so he sued the NCAA. That was Ed O'Bannon. And eventually, they went through all the courts, and the Supreme Court ruled in 2021 that athletes at the college level should be able to monetize their own name, image, and likeness. That was meant originally to get brand deals with large brands like Nike or even small brand deals as well. What has happened since then is that there has been more money coming into college sports because it is now a race to see who can get the most money for their college so that they can start to pay athletes, which is now something that athletes can receive from their college. So that was not available until just this past year. And then you also still have on top of that these brand deals that have always been available, but there's a lot to them. So one thing when it comes to actually their college scholarship package is you need to be aware of how much NIL money you're making. If you are a high school athlete and you are an exceptional player, you could be making six figures in NIL money, and that would obviously impact your scholarship package and the amount that you would receive. The other thing it's important to know is there is NIL money now available to college athletes through revenue sharing. Revenue sharing is the process of these colleges awarding, depending on the college, up to $20.5 million dollars to athletes at their school. Now, many athletes will not see that unless they're playing basketball or football, but that is also changing. But if you don't ask the question about is there any opportunity for revenue sharing, they're probably not going to bring it up to you. And you should also, when you do get your final package, make sure you're talking to the financial aid office to make sure that they understand what you have coming in for NIL money, what you had in high school, what you're expected to get at the college level, so they can balance that out and make sure you still qualify. Any thoughts on that there, Shellee?
The one thing I wanted to add is how it will impact scholarships. A lot of people don't look at them hand in hand, they look at them as two separate commodities. And unfortunately, that's not the case. So, how the athletic scholarship, it can affect admissions, but it can also affect that your taxes and your opportunity for academic scholarships. So you want to be really mindful that how will that money impact your whole strategy?
Mm.
Because if you don't, one may cancel out the other and you're not even aware of it. So, academically, we want families to understand that is income coming to your child, coming to them, and they're going to be assessed significantly higher than if the money was coming to you. So when we talk about the FAFSA and the CSS profile, and we talk about lowering your student aid index, we want to be mindful, does your student have the opportunity or is utilizing NIL? So it's just important, if you're looking for college scholarships, that you have a full strategy, not just pieces.
Good point. Yep, I totally see that. All right, Shellee, how to use your sport and your grades to get a full ride.
Ooh, I love this one. So your sport gets coaches to see you, right?
Mm.
It gets them interested. You can go to a combine. You can be playing all league, all state. And maybe they're going to start having recruiting conversations. Your grades and your rigor, that's going to unlock the academic and merit scholarships. So the financial strategy is to lower your student aid index, right? To maximize all aid offers. So when you put all three together, you could have multiple colleges competing to pay your child. And it happens all the time. My firstborn actually was a 4-year varsity athlete, and we thought he was going to go play soccer until academically he got into Harvard. And so we had to switch our strategy very quickly because he didn't want to play soccer at Harvard. He knew that the balance would be very difficult. And so he chose to pivot and go in academically because he got a full ride offer. He didn't get any full ride offers for soccer. Soccer is
Soccer.
a non-generating revenue for
Non-revenue stream.
colleges. And so we were seeing colleges wanting him on their team, which is great. But like I said, show me the money. And it really came down to he had 7 full ride offers academically. And so he chose to go to Harvard. But here's the thing, parents, I think is really important. He was able to walk on and row for the Harvard crew team, never rowing a boat before, because he was an athlete and he thought like an athlete, trained like an athlete. And so I want you to think in a very large scope, how does this all play together? Because here's the thing, athletic scholarships, are mainly going to be D1, D2, right? Merit scholarships for grades, test scores, leadership, that's everywhere. Need-based aid, the FAFSA, the CSS profile, institutional grants, that's everywhere. Outside scholarships, private organizations, community employers, that's everywhere. So athletic money is just one bucket. I want you to think about how can you dip your hand in every bucket? That's what I want you to be thinking, because ultimately, if your child has a high GPA, it will raise the whole team, and you are more valuable than the student who has a little bit more talent but a very low GPA. And if you're bringing in merit scholarships and you're bringing in need-based, if independent, you're going to go on a full ride, and then you get to play your sport because you want to play your sport. So I just want you to be thinking of this as a whole opportunity, not just little pieces of going at one type of money.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I also think too at the D3 level, how important it is where you can't get an athletic full ride scholarship is that's where those grades really come into play. And that's most of the time how I've seen a lot of athletes get into a very good D3 program is because they had the grades to do it and they get then a lot of money, to be able to go to the school because of their academics, and they then get to play the sport that they want to continue to play. As we said before, not going to intend to go pro, but it's a nice balance to their full college experience. So, All right, you introduced this concept to me because I hadn't heard it before. Is there such a thing as a backdoor acceptance?
So here's the thing, families hear rumors of secret lists, special favors, a backdoor deal. I'm not sure if our listeners have been around long enough to hear about the college scandal, where the one college consultant thought it was a great idea to go in the back door, and it ended him in jail and many parents in jail. So here's the thing, even if you see the back door, run from the back door.
Mm,
It is not where you want to be.
mhm.
Movies project this VIP thing. So is there really a back door? Let's just separate Hollywood for a minute and let's talk about what really works today. People want to know, if I pay enough, will my child get in?
Right.
My friend knows the trustee, the coach, the dean, we're alma mater, alums. Our counselor has a special in at the top schools. We'll donate, right? All of these things people think is the magic, the key. Here's what I want you to know. Colleges do have institutional priorities. They do have recruited athletes at some schools get look special look at, which means if they make it through the round of admissions, right? They have enough GPA, enough test scores, they made it through those two minimum stages. Yes, a coach can take this in and say, "Hey, I need this goalie. This student, he will make our school great." Yes, they will take an extra look at it, but it doesn't mean that that's the end all, because schools have to have certain requirements of all students. Because here's the thing, an athlete could get in with a lower GPA, but can they stay at school?
Mm.
There's the thing.
I was
We
going to say
know
that soccer goal is not going to be much use if he can't stay eligible.
that's the problem, and his GPA will pull down the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
now we're cautious because we have a stressed out goalie who's taken extra tutoring. His teachers are giving him a hard time, and he is depressed. He's feeling heavy, and he's going into
Mm.
class feeling like all these other kids were the top of their class. I can't compete. I'm a this. There's the problem. Is that what we want for our children? Do we want them to be in that situation? Does that make sense? So, colleges shape a class, not just admit the best student. They're looking about, how do we help the entire team, the entire student body? So, what you want to do is you want to apply strategically. You want to use timing to your advantage. You want to stand out beyond your athletic stats, and you want to be on the radar for the athletic
Mm.
opportunities. So, the real backdoor is that most families don't know how to play the game. When you do know how to play the game, there is no need for a backdoor.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I think that a lot of people do think, oh, okay, they just got in because of this or because of that. And, at the end of the day, it's the hard work and it's the strategic thinking, like you're talking about, that is going to get you in. So, very, very good points on answering, as you said, kind of an antiquated approach to trying to get into a college. So, um, all right. Let's talk about what improvements you should make to your social media accounts before colleges start looking at them. So, obviously, working in the NIL space, I work with athletes all the time on their social media. It's one of the first things I look at when an athlete approaches Pliable about working together, or, hey, how do I get NIL deals? How many followers do I need to have? And I always tell them that you've got to have a strong social media presence. And that includes keeping your content clean and no swears in your videos or the music or the gestures. And the same thing applies to when you're trying to get into college. So you might as well clean it up now so that a college looks at your account and goes, this looks like an outstanding individual. They've clearly put thought into their social media accounts, And these are all wholesome pictures, them celebrating what makes them well-rounded, right? Because as we know, they're looking for a well-rounded individual. And if your, account is just you playing soccer, going back to the soccer example, well, show me your friends, right? Like, show me you having a good time. Show me some of your maybe it's hobbies that you do outside of soccer that make you unique. And the other thing I'll also say about social media, especially in high school, is that if you have an NIL partnership, and you have that on your social media account, it number one shows that you are doing NIL, so you're probably a pretty good player, and you probably should be getting looked at more than you are. And so that almost validates the coach or the admissions person that's looking at your account, going, oh, okay, they have some NIL. They must be pretty good. And the other thing that it does is it makes you more marketable for that school when they look at your account and say, okay, if this person's already doing NIL in high school and they're doing it fairly well, imagine what they could do when they got on our campus. They could almost be an ambassador for our college by doing more NIL, which is going to promote our college environment and our program that you can come here and you can do NIL. So social media accounts are really important. And I hear this all the time too from employers. So this doesn't just even apply to colleges. This applies to keeping that social media clean so that people, when they look at you and they have a first impression, they have a good first impression. You don't want a college admissions department looking at your social media that you may never even know they look at, because they're not going to tell you, hey, we saw on your social media this, that, and the other thing. They are going to just say no, and you're not going to get accepted. Right, Shellee?
So true. And I just wanted to add here's some practical things that you can do straight away. And I help my students understand the importance of doing this. The first thing is you want to Google your name and see what shows up. Just an easy fix. You
Yep.
want to delete any hidden or old posts that don't represent who you are now. You want to make sure that your profile photo and bio look clean and consistent. You want to make sure your accounts show activities, interests, and positive impact. And you want to have a personal rule for what I will and won't post. If you're allowing your friends to tag you in everything, every certain thing, you might want to not do that.
Yeah.
So you got to protect yourself. And this is really the first time you get to step into, I have to make hard choices.
Yep, absolutely. And I also think too, if you're an athlete, you should be putting, and a lot of times this comes up as well, should I be creating a separate account to get recruited? And in many cases, the answer is yes. Because that's where coaches are going to look, and you would put your name and then your graduation year in high school. That's fine. But if you're going to make that level of commitment, then you need to populate it. You can't not just, put up one or two posts and call it good. You actually have to make a commitment to populating that account and making sure it stays active, or else it's a negative impression that there's only two posts on your recruitment, page, so to speak. And then they're like, okay, well, this person doesn't put the effort in here. Are they going to put the effort in when they get on campus to what we're going to ask them to do? So, um, all right. And then one of our last questions here is, when should I talk to the college or the coach about NIL money? And I think that one of the most important things that I would advise here about NIL money is, do not lead off with this question. It's fine to talk about it, but you don't want to go in and, let's say you're having an interview with a coach and you're walking this through, and like the second question out of your mouth is, well, are you guys doing NIL and how much money can I make? Right? It can be part of the conversation, but you want this to be a natural progression, because if they start talking about how badly they want you and why they want you, that then becomes toward the end of that conversation, when they're telling you how badly they want you, to then be able to lean into it and say, I'm curious about the NIL culture at your school. Can you tell me more about what opportunities might be available? You don't go and say, how much money can I get from NIL? let them start to at least acknowledge the fact that you know that NIL money probably could exist. And if that is the case, you're going to put them in a situation where they need to tell you what they're thinking about for NIL money, because one of the strategies, as you may know, in negotiating is you don't want to share your number first. So the idea is by talking about it, they will then share their numbers or their philosophy on NIL first. You don't have to go and say, how much money can I get? Let them at least have the chance to tell you what their range or what their best practices are for your sport and your school. That's going to allow you, rather than seeming greedy, to go after NIL money.
Mhm. So important.
Yeah. All right. Now we get to open it up for questions and comments from you. You've been part of this webinar. I've seen some people coming in and out, and obviously, we wanted to do this webinar at a time we thought, athletes and students would be available because we know everybody's so busy, and we appreciate everybody that has tuned in tonight here. So if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand, and we can certainly take that. We can also monitor this chat that we've had here tonight.
Awesome. Well, they're thinking of their questions. Let me just share something that's going to be really important, and that is how are you to look at the combination of the academics and the athletics? Because we want it all for you. The
Mm,
bottom line is that's why we're doing this. We want you to know you can have it all. And how do you balance it? The first thing I want to share is your academics must come first. If you want to stay eligible, there's just no negotiables in that. So if you need help, definitely get a tutor. The next would be finding the right fit school for the major, the campus, the academics, the location, and then your role on the team. Will you get to play? Will they
mm,
develop you? Will you be seen? Then, after that, layer the NIL on top of an already strong plan. And remember, NIL is such a great opportunity, but it can go away tomorrow. So don't make choices on things that are not surely going to be there in the long run, because we know that your mind and what you learn will be with you forever. And we know one injury can change the whole thing. So, keeping this on the positive side, trying to balance it all, it is so possible. I was a scholar athlete. I played softball for the USA. I know what it takes to juggle, but you can do it. I know you've got this. So,
yeah, no.
so good.
That's great. And I come in from the other side, which is I had that situation happen to me where I had a back injury in high school and my sports career was not going to continue at the college level. And so that's why I really enjoy helping athletes as much as I do when it comes to NIL opportunities, because I know how fast it can go away. And I want them to be able to maximize not only the financial side, Shellee. One of the things that you and I know is there are several benefits to NIL that come from the opportunities, including leadership or professional development, finance, marketing. I always say this is an internship for yourself to be able to build your own brand. It's an amazing opportunity. And I always try to encourage athletes to at least explore it so they can find out more about themselves as part of the process. So let's take a few of these questions here that we typically get from our audience. So, when should an athlete start thinking about applying to colleges? I thought you hit on a really important part earlier where you talked about deciding on your finances, what you're going to start spending on. I mean, we've got kids that are now specializing in sports at, 8 and 10 years old. And many times they're already thinking about the college process because they're like, where can I be the most successful and what sport is that going to be?
Yeah, so when you think about when, that's really the big question here. And it depends on your student. If your student is on the mature side and they're asking questions about what happens after high school, you know it's time.
Mm,
And if you wait until the junior or senior year, you've left a lot of scholarship money on the table. So, when is the perfect time? When they promote from eighth grade and that summer going into their freshman year, they haven't made any mistakes. They've done everything to set themselves up successfully. And that's why College Ready starts with students as young as seventh and eighth grade, all the way through ninth through 12th, because the sooner you start to have a strategic plan, academically, socially, financially, athletically, right? You have to have the whole thing planned out. Now you're ready. Now you're ready to compete on all levels, and that's where the big money's going to come.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've got a daughter who's at that point right now. So that's why I've really enjoyed our chats before this as we continue to help people that I know are in very similar situations to myself. Because I never even thought about it until you brought it up. I was like, yeah, I could totally see why that would be the case. How do you get an NIL deal? Very popular question. I get this one on Instagram a lot. People will, send me a DM. But the idea here is that getting an NIL deal is a strategic process, just like, Shellee has outlined with the college process, is you don't want to go and accept a deal that you get from some protein company you don't even know or you haven't built a relationship with, and they just say on Instagram, hey, will you promote our product for this and that kind of thing. It's really about building relationships. So I always start with, what are you passionate about? What products are you already using? And how can we even offset your costs? I mean, I have this one athlete right now at the University of Connecticut, just got her a deal with protein powders and collagen. And it's something that's very expensive for a college athlete to be paying for. And so she's thrilled because now she doesn't have to pay for it. She promotes it on Instagram. She's probably going to get more NIL deals because of it, because when one brand sees that you're promoting a product, then they know you're open for business, so to speak, and you can get more NIL opportunities because you have already an NIL deal. So one usually can lead to another. There are also, I will say with this, there are what we call marketplaces where college athletes can go and they can log on, create a profile, and brands can actually shop for athletes that are looking for. So, like by demographic, geographic region, school, and they will actually make offers to athletes saying, hey, we saw your profile. And would you be interested in this product or this service? So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but I feel strongly that it starts and should continue with personal relationships. So
Mhm.
how has college recruiting changed in the last 10 years, Shellee? Boy, what a big question that is, huh?
Just about everything. So for parents who are feeling a little overwhelmed, I just want you to know it's because the game has changed. The game is the same, the rules have changed. The goal is always right to get into college. What you want to be thinking about is, how are colleges going to decide if your child is the best fit for them? And all you have to do is ask yourself this simple question. Ask your child, who are you? If they cannot answer that, they're not ready to complete a college application, because that's all colleges want to know. The second thing is, what have they done to prove it? Well, if they haven't done anything to prove it and they don't have any extracurriculars, letters of recommendation, essays, community service, leadership, again, it's going to be a struggle. And then finally, how have I seen success? In other words, did you fail forward? Did you try a thing that it didn't work out, but you learned a lot from it and now you're even a better person? Or
Mm.
have you had some massive success that you grew a little thing to a big thing? Have you led others to create the change you want to see in the world? Colleges are not looking for people to sign up, show up, complete the thing to get into college. That's not impressive. They're
Yeah.
looking for amazing students to come into their school and make their school so much better. So when you're really thinking about how has it changed, think about how different you were than your child is, and you will have a really good idea how teenagers have changed, let alone how college has changed.
Yeah, that's a great point. Um, and then the other piece here that we have at the end of this is what is your best piece of advice for a current high school student? And I'll start out, and I think it gets back to a trend that we've kind of been talking about here tonight, which is think strategically. This is a process, and this is something you should be calculating and thinking about because it involves so many different things from financial planning for the family side, the athletic side. Where are you spending your time? What sport are you best at? Sometimes athletes have to make those decisions and say, I'm a better, hockey player than I am a field hockey player or whatever it may be. And so you really have to think strategy before you start thinking about success. And I think that that's really the important piece I could give you that hits a lot of different topics because we talked about social media, right? There's a strategy for that. There's a strategy for scholarships and everything that Shellee's mentioned here tonight. And if you don't start with a strategy and a plan, it's very hard to achieve your goals if you haven't set up a game plan, using athletic terms, a game plan. What coach do you know that goes into a game and says, we're not going to have a game plan today. We're going to go play. That just doesn't happen. So that's kind of my analogy for you is to have a strategy, know the way you're going to win, and go and execute the game plan.
So good. So good. So families, I know you might be thinking, you're probably thinking, that all sounds great, but how do I have a plan?
Mm,
Like how I need to know the rules, right? So we just gave you a lot of foundational information. But to take it to the next level, you have a couple of choices. You could leave it up to your 17-year-old to navigate this on their own, which I don't know about you, would terrify me if I did that
hard
for my
pass. Yeah, hard pass.
especially with my kids' lack of financial literacy. Um, or you can do it all on your own, and hopefully you do it right and
Right.
have no
Mhm.
regrets. Or you get support. That's all it comes down to. You can do your own taxes, or you hire a CPA.
Mhm.
You can hire a realtor, or you sell your own home. That's what we're trying to help you understand is we know how to do this, and hopefully you learned a lot more about, hey, if you want to do this, go for it. But here we want you to at least know this is what you're going to be faced with. And so I encourage you to reach out to Greg or I. We both offer a complimentary call to see if you're a good fit. And if you aren't, great, you just learned a ton more information. If you are, we both have lots of different opportunities. So, Greg, I don't want to speak for you, but I just thought I'd
Yeah.
share that piece.
Absolutely. I am here, as I like to say, when it comes to NIL, because I, of course, get a lot of those questions. I would love to represent everybody, but I can't do that. I'm only one person, one agency, and there's many others, out there as well. But what I always do say is that I can't represent everyone, but I can help anyone. And that's why I have NIL game plans. That's why I do offer, like you said, free consultations, because at the end of the day, as a former athlete, I want what's best for the athlete. And part of that is information. You can't come up with a good strategy if you don't know the information that you should be trying to glean or get or apply to the college process. So, absolutely right there with you. And as I always say, too, the way I recruit is I'm looking for good athletes that are great people. So, don't think in order to do NIL that you have to be the superstar on your college team because that's not the case, and you can absolutely do it. You can build your brand and you can build your future because you were an athlete. And that's really important to me. So, your closing thoughts, Shellee?
You've got this. You've got
Mm,
this. Now
yeah,
you have the information. Now it's up to you what you're going to do with it. But others have done it before you. And I just want to encourage you. You've got this.
yeah. Great discussion. Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who tuned in here tonight. We, of course, will have this recording available for you to go and access. But certainly, really appreciate your time tonight, Shellee, and everybody for tuning in. So thanks again, Shellee.
All right. Thank you, Greg.